this is Steve. This episode of Origin of Speaksies, specifically our guest segment, contains mature themes and explicit language. Listener discretion is advised. This is not a drill. Listener discretion is advised.
Speaksies.
So I need your help with something. I need to ask my neighbor's wife for a haircut, and I don't know how to ask her.
All right, welcome to Origin of Speaksies. My name is Scott, and as always, I'm joined via Skype by my friend Steve. And yeah, man, tell me about this conundrum, because asking your neighbor's wife anything is
exactly, and especially when it involves my magnificent hair right now. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about how excited I am about our guests that we have today. We're going to be joined by Sarah Tollemache and Adrienne Iapalucci from the Vadge podcast.
Yes.
Which is a great name, and is actually one of the final names we had for Origin of Speaksies.
Just missed it. Yeah.
It was Sensuous Black Man, Vadge, and Origin of Speaksies. And by a hair, we did that. So looking forward to speaking to them later. And one of the reasons I was thinking about that is I need a haircut. And, it's one of the few times when we talk to people, they can see how fat we are and also how big our hair is. So I've come to the point that I've realized that I need to do something about my hair. And it was actually my neighbor, the mayor. So we use code names on here. Actually, I call him the mayor when I'm with him, but he's the mayor of our neighborhood. And his wife had recently given her two sons haircuts, and pretty good ones. Like, they have hair like me, just kind of big old mounds of hair on top of their head. And she had done, for what I could tell. Now, I was over at the mayor's house, and we were working on a bike or something like that. So I saw the kids like inside. So I couldn't tell from the shadows if, they had really been butchered. Maybe that's where inside. But it looked like a good subtle haircut around the edges. Just kind of keep things under control. But that's what I need. I need something. But I don't know how you broach that conversation with somebody about, I need your wife to give me a haircut.
Yeah. Well, I have thoughts. I think first thing I wouldn't go, I need your wife. I wouldn't start anything with, I need your wife to, and I don't know the mayor, but you could get an elbow smash or something.
Right.
I think my first piece of advice would be, or I guess question to you would be, have you talked to your wife about this? Because I do know she's cut your hair in the past. I know a lot about you, and I do remember you telling me about that.
Yeah.
So why are you bypassing her? And then, we'll answer that and we'll go from there.
Sure. So she has cut my hair, but if you call my spring shearing that happens right before pool season, that's really pretty much how she's cut my hair. And I did run it past her, and I got that out of the way easy. I said, look, if you cut my hair and you mess it up, I'm going to be mad at you, and we're going to be stuck in the house for a long time. So this way, it kind of, I think I'm managing risk. I think I'm being a real professional about this whole thing.
So you've checked that box. So I think that, but as long as you don't say anything weird, like, hey, I was checking out your kid's hair, and it seems like your wife is done. I think you can, it certainly needs to go to the husband and just, ask him, maybe bring over some of that beer, have some beer delivered, wait till he's had one of those, and get him drunk, and then say, hey.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about your wife. Yeah, maybe not. Well, I think we're getting there. I think we're eliminating things that I shouldn't do. We're getting those kind of out of the way.
So maybe you don't get him drunk. How about an email? But the subject line, you can't put anything weird like, want to talk to you about.
Yeah, your wife.
Right. It can just be like, subject line could be haircut.
Yeah. And
then from there say, hey, this is kind of awkward, joke about it. But let us know how it goes maybe next week when we talk. But
we'll see. And what I might do also is just kind of let it go. And maybe it'll become like a neighborhood issue that, like, you ever had the neighbor that like moves out or doesn't cut their grass, and someone volunteers to go over there and do that. It might be the same thing with me. Someone might just out of the good of our home values, in case they I'm found outside.
Yeah, wait for them to approach you. Yeah. That's a good idea. Oh, that's actually not a bad idea, though, you could wait, but then it kind of defeats the purpose, because then you look like a hobo or something until they come to you.
Mhm.
You could just say to the mayor, like, "Hey, do you know anybody in the neighborhood that cuts hair?" Just because I saw your kids and actually don't say that part.
Yeah.
Just say, do you know anyone in the
I
neighborhood
was watching your kids the other day.
right. And yeah. So,
We'll
well,
see.
we'll see, but yeah, keep us updated because
I certainly will.
I know how important haircuts are to you. We've talked about the fact that you said you'd be willing to drive, I don't know what, at least 45 minutes to an hour to see your guy. I hope, by the way, shout out to all hairstylists and hair people right now.
Barbers.
We're going to tip the hell out of you.
Yes.
When we come back. I'll
There
tell
will
you
be
that.
deluxe tipping. And don't kid about that. That's one of the things that's driven
I'm
me
not
nuts. Yeah.
I have missed my hair person. I don't ever know what to call her, but I go to somebody's house and she cuts my hair.
Okay. Well, I have a barber, so that makes it easy.
Yeah. I guess I can call her a barber. Yeah, I miss my barber. You don't have to say lady. Actually, Lady Barber. She calls herself Lady Barber in her on her Facebook page. So maybe that's what I should call her. But
it sounds
probably
like
not. I don't think
a terrible rapper. Sounds like someone that would be featured on a Keef Chief song.
So what are we doing tonight, man?
So keeping with our theme, which we haven't brought up yet, so we're not keeping with our theme.
What is our theme?
So our theme today is New York. For a while, I've been wanting to do some New York themed idioms. And then once everything kind of came together, and speaking of New York, our guests from the Vadge podcast later today, Sarah Tollemache and Adrienne Iapalucci, are both from New York. So when I think New York, I think comedy. So that all kind of came together. But before we get to the comedy portion, I just wanted to do a couple New York idioms.
Awesome. Well, when I think of New York, I have the fondest memories because early in season 2, I believe it was season 2, when we did the Big Apple, was when I stumbled upon our I don't know what we should call him. I don't know if he knows. I don't know if he listens to the podcast or not. Hopefully we'll find that out. But one Mr. Barry Popick, that's when I discovered him.
Yeah, I remember the first time we learned about Barry Popick. That was a big episode. And we can't do New York without Barry Popick. So he is in a way with us today because he's helped us out here with my first idiom, which is out in left field.
Out in left field. Okay.
Out in left field or out of left field, kind of used the same sometimes. Essentially, it means somebody's eccentric or odd or maybe mistaken. And that is from yourdictionary.com. So Barry Popick has a great entry on his website, barrypopick.com, with pretty much all the information you need about out in left field or out of left field. So that definition comes from his entry that he found on yourdictionary.com. But again, it's something that means a little bit wild. If you're out in left field, you might be a little bit crazy. If someone comes out of left field with something, some bizarre conspiracy theory about birds or 5G or David Stern, just things that are crazy that people will say sometimes.
So it's basically the same thing. It's either somebody's out in left field, something came out of left field. Yeah. Either way, it's kind of a bizarre, weird thing. Yeah. Okay.
So, and one of the ways too, I want to make sure this was tied to New York, is in one of the early kind of folk etymologies of this, is that it was originated with a remark to fans who went to Yankee Stadium during Babe Ruth's time and bought seats in the left field. As we know, Babe Ruth was a left-handed hitter, hit most of his home runs to right field. Yankee Stadium for years always had that short right field porch.
Right.
So that's not the origin of it. But again, we want to tie everything back to our New York theme.
Right.
Mr. Barry Popick. We have the New York Yankees.
So it was like if you were getting seats out in left field, you were nuts.
You were out of touch. You were a little eccentric because you weren't going to see much action.
Okay.
So I do also want to use this as something. You ever have something that you're worried that people will have on you, so you just want to get it out in the open?
Oh yeah.
So I will actually admit something that I am probably more embarrassed of, honestly, than anything I've done in my life, So I used to be a New York Yankees fan when I was a kid. And
I remember this. Yes.
you remember, and in my defense, I was a New York Yankees fan when they were awful. In the late 80s, early 90s, Don Mattingly, Dave Winfield, and that was about it. And then you would have, legendary pitchers like Dave LaPointe and Andy Hawkins.
Gosh.
So going with my buy low, I bought low. But I've told people that before, and I think it'd be better accepted if I had been a terrorist or, a countless other things. Think in your mind whatever in the past that someone would have done that would make you shun them.
Like
pretty much
do a multi-level marketing thing?
Something like that.
Oops. Yeah, I kind of did that too.
It's okay. But you did that. Oh, you were an adult when you did that too.
Yeah,
but still, I think actually being a Yankees fan is worse.
Actually, let's talk about that. Since this is a New York episode, we'll dwell on that for a minute. And I mean, I actually liked it because you were one of the few baseball fans I knew growing up. Most people were more into basketball or football, and that's still kind of the case. Why was it just Mattingly? Did you decide you just want to like the Yankees?
I think it was the history of the team. I like a good backstory. I like good history, and the Yankees had great history. They had the best players for years and years, and Mattingly was pretty awesome too by the time. So I did buy high on Don Mattingly. So back to left field. So that's one of the folk etymologies that go with that. So another one comes back to the Chicago Cubs, and the left field that's mentioned there. And this is from a quote I found on an article on bleedcubbyblue.com, Chicago Cubs history, the way out in left field truth. There had been a folk etymology about that not at Wrigley Field, but at West Side Grounds, where the Cubs played from 1893 to 1915. There was a rumor that there was a hospital in left field that was also named the Neuropsychiatric Institute, which is actually a real place, but was not built until 1937, where the Cubs were already at Wrigley. So not true with that.
So wait, so the idea was that the hospital was like the building at the end of left field.
Right.
Okay, so if you were out in left field, you were in the nut house or whatever they would call it back then. We wouldn't say that now, but
I believe that was the actual official term back in the 1930s.
I think it may have been, yeah.
So did some more baseball related research and came across a book that we haven't referred to before, but just based on title, I think I'm giving a lot of credence. The Complete Armchair Book of Baseball.
Okay. I feel like I've heard of that. I'm pretty sure I've heard of that.
It's been around. And William Sapphire has a prominent section in that. So he doesn't provide us the answer here, but I get some more information that I think gets us closer to the truth. So one of the people questioned was the editor of American Speech Magazine, a gentleman by the name of John Algeo. He is noted as, back when this book was written, which I believe was the early 80s, as one of the heavy hitters in the big league of linguistics. So I don't think we've come across him. So his quote here, which I think comes towards the truth, speculates that because of the prominence of right-handed batters in the sport of baseball, as we know, as longtime baseball fans, more balls are going to be hit to left field.
Right.
Accordingly, the left fielder might have to stay farther away from the plate than, say, for instance, a center fielder or right fielder would.
Okay.
More times, not every time.
Yep.
That. So he thinks that's part of it. And he also thinks, too, that the word left is generally associated with things being a little bit different, a little bit wacky.
Yep.
When you talk about people that are firm and have a good foundation, we say they're centered, doing things the right way. Right has a lot of connotations of conservatism and correctness. So left generally has been seen as, something as, left-handed people are seen as a little flakier, things like that. So he thinks it's a combination of those two things that equal being out in left field.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Well, I don't know. I didn't know left-handed people were flakier, but I do. But I think the idea of left hand being a little more rare, a little more offbeat, maybe, and also the idea of it being further away, that makes more sense than like a nut house in left field or something. So yeah. I get that.
By the way, I don't mean necessarily flaky in a bad way.
I just felt like I had to, when the controversy happens and this makes the news, I want to be on tape saying that I called you out for that. Cause I don't know about flakier, but
considering who we're going to speak with later, if that's the thing that gets called out for being inappropriate, I will be very happy.
Right. That's that's as controversial.
Yeah, if that's as bad, right. It'd probably be a terrible episode also. Yeah. True. So, out in left field is one. I don't think I ever asked you. Is this something that you use, or have you heard?
Oh yeah, I use it. I mean, I always use it. I don't use it to describe an individual. I describe it usually as to if something came out of nowhere.
Right.
Well, I just kind of came out of left field, and yeah, no, it had to start something. There's a reason we say left field and not right field, and I guess that's it, But yeah, I absolutely use it. Never thought about it more than once, but it's interesting.
Well, now you've thought about it a couple times, and it's got a chance to talk about Barry Poppick. It's given me a chance to get one of my greatest shames of my life out there, so it can't be held against me any longer. I don't have to live in fear of that. Of someone finding my Kevin Moss poster that I actually...
I remember.
Which I actually took to college with me, and I found it in the background of a picture. One of the few pictures I have from college. That is in the picture, if I remember correctly, that is the least offensive thing in the picture is the Kevin Moss photo, or poster. But if that does come out sometime, at least maybe that'll distract. As the cancel wars continue, I think being looked at as a Yankees fan in the past will probably come back to haunt me still.
It's going to be right up there with you calling left-handed people flaky.
Yeah. Edgy humor like that would make us fit in good with our guests for later today.
That's right. Pushing the envelope. Call back to episode 1 of the podcast.
So before I go to my next New York-inspired idiom, a couple New York facts.
New York facts, okay.
New York facts. And this is from SwedishNomad.com.
I like that you're getting New York facts from a guy from Sweden. Let's do this.
Well, I figure, it'd get a little bit more of an objective view, perhaps, and maybe somebody that's biased. So, a couple fun facts. Again, according to SwedishNomad.com, New Yorkers bite 10 times more people than sharks do worldwide each year.
Okay.
So, it's the Swedish perspective. And I've been to New York multiple times. I've never been bitten, so I'm probably due. Honking your car horn, is illegal.
Really? Now that one surprises me.
That would be interesting if there was just that's what de Blasio decided to crack down on next. And finally, one last New York fact.
Bring it.
Brooklyn Bridge is older than the Tower Bridge in London.
Really? That's surprising. That's really surprising.
I'm not surprised at all because America, even the Swedish nomad, has got to recognize America. So
New York facts. Look, I love it.
Thank you. So our next idiom is blast from the past.
Okay. Well, that is one before you even ask. I like to use, but it's usually when I hear from someone I haven't heard from in a long time, and I'm like, play blast from the past, like haven't seen you since grade school. That acne really cleared up or whatever.
You really are as fat as we thought you were going to be in high school. So blast from the past is one that I don't think I use that much, but I have heard it, and I generally associate it with either like a golden oldie song or, like you said, somebody you haven't seen from a long time. Now, I don't think I use it this way, but I've also heard people talk about like when it's like you meet your high school girlfriend or boyfriend. And it's like, oh, blast from the past, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I'd say that's hand in hand with the haven't seen someone since school or whatever. But yeah, now that you say that too, I can hear some DJ saying, now a blast from the past, we're going to play, Indian Giver by whoever that be. By the way, that song rocks.
Pretty catchy.
I actually have done an Indian Giver radio on my Sonos, and it is good stuff.
Is it all racist songs?
Yeah. No, it's, it's like the zombies and stuff like that, which.
And also, in all seriousness, too, we discussed this week, one of the catchier songs that we've heard recently is actually the Vadge theme song, which we're going to have to ask them who did, because it does just earwig into you. And there's nothing like walking around the house as we're all quarantined with our families and just saying under our breath, Vadge. So you mentioned thinking of a radio DJ when you hear this.
That's right.
And that is the origin of it. It comes back to a radio DJ. So not to spoil the end of this, but this one's special because it's from New York, but it's also a rare occasion where I get to disagree with Phrase Finder.
Oh, good.
So
I mean, I say good. No, I say good because I think I mentioned this before. It's like we use them so often. And, I think I can speak for you. I know that I don't usually just go there and take their.
Yeah.
I will do some digging around. And it always usually comes back to Worldwide Words, Phrase Finder are the ones. But every once in a while, there's something and you're like, you want to be able to say, I found something a little different. And so I'm kind of, so that's why I said yes, nothing against them, but just so that we're kind of doing our own thing a little bit here.
Well, they're keeping us honest too, that we're not, that we're finding some contradictory information. So the origin of this comes back to a radio DJ, real name Murray Kaufman, professionally known mostly as Murray the K.
I like that.
Yeah. And I'm going to draw some information from a article that was written in Rolling Stone magazine by Kurt Loder several years ago about
huge part. By the way, Kurt Loder, huge part of my adolescence. You think back, with MTV News, him and who was the short-haired
Tabitha Soren.
Tabitha Soren and Kurt Loder had way more input into my way of thinking than probably should have, if you think back to it. But also, but also so did USA Up All Night. But that's a whole nother story. So Kurt Loder, he's still around.
Yeah. Well, actually, the day of this recording, I believe, is actually his 75th birthday.
Oh, well, happy birthday, Kurt Loder.
Yeah. Good job,
smarmy son of a bitch.
Yeah. He's got good hair, though. I should find out who his barber is right now. Maybe he could help me out with that.
His wife probably cuts it. You should email him and ask him.
Murray the K. So the origin of Blast from the Past comes back to a very influential DJ named Murray the K. And he's somebody, as I've kind of researched his career, he sounds like a lot of almost like tropes you would think of being a radio DJ in the era of rock and roll are true. Our Tom Wolfe, the late author who you and I care greatly for, calls Murray the K the original hysterical disc jockey.
Oh, cool.
So
maybe a lot of the stuff that we think of as the way a disc jockey comes across came from this guy.
Yep, I would say that. So Murray the K is so associated with the Beatles that he is often called the fifth Beatle.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And I've seen this in multiple sources. Going back to Kurt Loder's article, there's an anecdote of when the Beatles flew into New York for the first time. Murray the K was there to meet him. He took over their U.S. press conference and was soon traveling with them. And there's a story that Kurt Loder quotes that I don't know. I think it's kind of anecdotal, but I like it. In Washington, D.C., a frustrated reporter is said to have asked, "What the blank is Murray the K doing here?" To which George Harrison calmly replied, "Murray's the fifth Beatle."
I love it.
So thinking if you were the first, known as the fifth Beatle, that would be a pretty cool thing. But it was something that started to wear on him for a while because he kind of became pigeonholed by that. And it started, which I could see also, that you want to be known for yourself and not just necessarily kind of only having that on, even though there are worse things to be pinned with than being the fifth Beatle. So another thing that Murray the K did was he was a DJ that also liked to play the music he wanted to play. So he came through in an era where a DJ could pick the music he wanted. It allowed him to help break new artists and try out new things. And he had, extra large influence because if he liked a song, he could play it.
Right.
So some of the artists that he championed included Benny King, Little Anthony and the Imperials, Stevie Wonder, Smokey Robinson,
wow,
Dusty Springfield, and The Who.
That is a murderer's row of
pretty
artists.
good.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things we look back at and go, well, he just, had really good taste. But think about if someone wasn't there to kind of push for these guys.
Oh yeah. Well,
if they ever would be known.
And that's definitely gone away now. But for sure, I mean, if he really was one of the ones that was pushing those guys along, he deserves a lot of credit. I think it's like trying to think of the LA station.
Oh, K-Rock.
Yeah, K-Rock.
Rodney Bingenheimer.
Yeah, exactly. It was the same thing. It was like a lot of the bands that we know today that came out of that era were because they were bands that he liked and put on. And
so, unfortunately, as the times changed, and he was stripped of a little bit of his freedom. He was radio stations started embracing more ratings and statistics to figure out what people wanted to hear. And that made him to move on. And he moved around several times after that. It's kind of like his last years were him going station to station, trying to find places that would allow him to do what he wanted to do and still make the choices, which as the years went on became kind of more limited for his options to do that. So again, one of the reasons I wanted to choose this was New York. So Murray the K, definitely New York. And again, speaking of New York, we'll be speaking with the ladies from Vadge here very shortly. And I also wanted to choose this because there's a chance to disagree with Phrase Finder for once.
Oh, right, yes.
So in their article on this, they don't claim anyone specifically done. They said it isn't clear. They list someone as a strong contender to be a DJ known as Jerry Blavat, also known as the Geeter with the Heater. The Geeter with the Heater.
What's a Geeter?
I'm not sure what a Geeter is, but
like a guitar?
Heater is spelled like a Doc Gooden fastball.
Okay.
Not a Doc Gooden speedball.
I know. I was like, there's a Doc Gooden joke there.
There's a joke in there somewhere. So the example they give of Jerry Blavat is an article about him in the Progress in a Pennsylvania newspaper from 1967. So I'm going to try to say this once with my DJ voice. And if it's just stupid, I'll say it twice. So in case it's just totally hacky. Kings and queens, yon royal teens, this is your Geeter with the Heater coming to you on a big time Tuesday where we rock the big TikTok, where we got the class to beat the blast from the past. I don't even know what voice that was that I did.
Nailed that. That was wonderful.
And by the way, big
no
time
second.
Was, no second take. Perfect.
No second take needed. No.
And just to clarify, big time was spelled Bigthahm in that. So, however, that quote is from the year 1967. So my proof of Murray the K being the originator is actually an album cover of a Murray the K compilation from the year 1961 with the title Blasts from the Past.
Oh.
So.
In your face, Phrase Finder.
Yeah. No, don't say that. Listen, they give me about 97% of the research that I bring in here.
Speaksies.
This is Robert Bankett, host of True Facts with Robert Bankett, on the Season 1 finale of True Facts with Robert Bankett. I examine the life, death, and life after death of Stonewall Jackson, legendary Confederate general. Here is a preview of Stonewall Jackson. The transition from battlefield to classroom was difficult for Jackson. While he was very versed in military history and theory, Jackson now had to teach other subjects, like physics and astronomy. His awkward manner and peculiar habits led to him at first becoming an unpopular and disliked teacher. His students soon began to mock him with nicknames behind his back, including Tom Fool, the Major, Buckethead Jackson, Puddinhead Goldfob, Big Dummy Murphy, Dexter Poopy Pants, Constantine Buttface, Cornelius Ass Pants, Robert E. Shit for Brains, Dingleberry Jones, Jeremiah Dingus, Asshead Monroe, Butthead McGillicuddy, Young Gravy, Dumbass McGee, Grover Buttlips, Wesley McStupidface, and, finally, Beta O'Rourke. The Season 1 finale of True Facts with Robert Banquet, Stonewall Jackson, will be available on Wednesday, May 20. Don't miss this final episode. Subscribe today to True Facts with Robert Banquet at your favorite podcast provider. For more information, including past episodes with transcripts, go to Speaksies.com/truefacts. That's Speaksies.com/truefacts. I wish you a wonderful day, and, as always, roll tide.
Speaksies.
When I think of comedy, and I fucked up already. Okay. It's only written down in front of my face. Yeah.
We're leaving this.
When I think of comedy, I get dyslexic. When I think of New York, I think of comedy. And when I think of comedy, I think of our guests. From Queens via Texas, you might know her from Comedy Central, Stephen Colbert, and The Late Late Show with James Corden. Sarah Tollemache. And representing the Bronx, you've seen her in Comedy Central, David Letterman, Reader's Digest, which I don't believe, but I've seen on the internet.
I don't think that ever made it. I did do
It's
something.
everywhere. Every bio you have says
I
that.
don't think they ever put me in there, to be honest.
I don't know why. She is maybe this has to do because she is a breakout star of season 2 of The Degenerates on Netflix. Adrienne Iapalucci. And most importantly, you can find them together every week on the podcast that has the best name in podcasts right now and the most infectious theme song. Vadge.
Yes.
Hey guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us a chance to say Vadge in front of our family so much this time.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. We have t-shirts. Maybe we should send them so you can wear them in front of your family.
Are they? You have child size too?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see. Gorilla
Just
marketing.
buy a regular size so they can grow into it.
That's good.
Yeah.
You can keep it for forever.
Grow into Vadge.
I love it.
There you go.
I have to tell you guys, Steve said your intro song. I'm just going to lead with this. That is the most earwormy, infectious beginning to a song. Beginning to a show. And I'm really hoping that you guys actually sang part of that or lent your vocal talents to it. But now I swear every morning I wake up, I just hear, what you gonna do when you go outside? I know what. And so yesterday I was doing another podcast and somebody was taking me through a guided meditation, which I've never done before. And we're like, picture I'm like walking through the forest or whatever. I don't know if you guys have ever done this. Yeah. And they're like, what are the sounds you hear? And I swear to God, I heard what you're gonna do when it's hot outside. And I'm like, no, it's great, but
that is funny.
It gets into your ears.
Meditation.
Well, one of Sarah's friends made it for us.
Yeah.
We didn't make it. Somebody else did.
It's Douglas Whittick, who is he was in the UCB scene and does a lot of like musical improv and stuff like that. So he's great. Yeah.
Well, he nailed it. And if my daughter ever asks me what I'm going to do when it's hot outside, I'm afraid what's just going to shoot right out of my mouth with that. So if you guys don't mind sharing, I know you guys are obviously great comedians and the comedian community is very tight, but what made it that you two picked each other out to team up for Vadge? What was the special thing, the special spark?
I think it was love at first sight. Adrienne had a joke that I really liked that I saw her do. We were both on a Montreal showcase over 10 years ago. Adrienne had a joke about, was it like getting an AIDS test and waiting?
I have no idea. Is that my joke? I don't think so.
Yeah. All right. Well,
you should be teamed up with somebody else. Whoever did that AIDS joke is somewhere missing out.
Well, the first time I ever saw Sarah was probably 2009, we did audition for Montreal, and it was
Mm-hmm.
not the best situation for an audition, like the setup of the audience and stuff. And she had a really funny joke about how you never hear how somebody made millions of dollars, and they're like, well, that first million I made sucking a dick. And it was like one of the first jokes I ever heard like that.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought she should bring it back. So yeah, then we kind of became friends, and
yeah, we saw each other, and then we were tweeting, and then I think we were tweeting a lot to each other, and then we decided. I think we started hanging out.
Yeah.
And, it went from there.
Yeah, and we started doing some writing together too.
That's good.
So.
That's, I think, the first good thing I've ever heard come out of Twitter. So you guys have redeemed Twitter for at least 20 minutes. We don't know how long that'll last.
Yeah.
Awful.
So you had mentioned the audience for Montreal, and something I wanted to ask you guys was, how do you adapt to an audience that's maybe not, you know, if you're the person running before you isn't necessarily your style of comedy? What do you guys, is that just something you just have to go out there like a Navy SEAL, or how does that work?
I don't know. Every now and then you'll follow a comic that kind of resets the room.
Mm-hmm.
They're either like a beast and they destroy it and whip it to a frenzy. And like, I feel like Adrienne and I have very low key acts, or very like monotone. I don't know. I think you just barrel through and then accept it.
Or sometimes I'll just address it if it's following somebody really high energy. Like, I don't do anything like that, so just get used to this.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to catch on pretty quickly, so they could either enjoy the next like 15 minutes or not. It's really up to them.
Yeah.
I imagine too that helps to have an audience that's out actually wants to have fun. Adrienne, I've seen some of your videos on Instagram of you end up having to just deal with people who apparently wanted to spend money to come out to comment and give you some advice on your job.
Yeah, I think if people don't like what you're saying, instead of just like zipping your mouth, they just want to interject and be part of the show, and that it just never works out, because the only way to really get through to it is to just abuse them. It's never really like you tell somebody they're ruining the show and they're like, oh, I didn't realize that. That's like almost never happened to me.
Well, feeding the troll.
You say it doesn't work out, but I love YouTube compilations of hecklers getting shut down. That's one of the greatest things ever, because it never works out for them, but it works out for the viewing audience usually.
Yeah, but it does, even like if you are in a situation like that and you like destroy a heckler, it does always make the show weird. Because whatever energy was building up to that point, it's almost really hard to follow going back into an act after you're just yelling at a person to the point where they're getting kicked out. Like, you can't almost follow that.
I never thought about that. Yeah. So maybe the energy in the room just sort of changes to one of, hey, even though it's funny, somebody just got yelled at, and like what just happened. Yeah.
So it's kind of sometimes weird to just go back into jokes about whatever you were talking about.
Yeah, I can see that.
Especially if someone gets kicked out and then everyone's hyped from it. You're like, well, that was my finale. I don't know what to do after that. Who else can I get kicked out?
Well, you're from the Bronx. You should just go in the audience and just find someone else to fight. Just kind of keep the vibe going.
I mean, it's not like that's not an option. There's always somebody that wants to fight in the audience. Almost always.
So a lot of the times they think they're helping the show. They're like, it's making it funnier. And so they don't understand that it's like annoying. It's work.
Well, and
everybody needs. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I imagine it's 98.5% related to alcohol consumption as well. Like it's like when people jump on the field and run around the outfield and they get tackled, and you're like, well, who in their right mind would do that? It's like, oh yeah, they're like super, super drunk. They're not going to remember this.
Yeah. They're not usually in the right mind.
Or like sometimes a bachelorette party, they feel like it's their party. So it becomes like you should focus on them. That's why I'm kind of looking forward to when we're going back and they'll do like no more tables of no more than 4. I guess if we're going to slowly edge back into live shows, and I'm like, that sounds amazing.
It'll break up all the bridal parties. That's maybe an unintended consequence. Everyone focuses on the bad. That's definitely a good thing that could come out of this.
I would hope after this, though, like once people are home and quarantine for a while, that if you're getting married, you're not going to want to go to a comedy show. I hope they're going to go back to the bars.
Yeah.
Well, they're probably not going to get married because they can't have large events like that anymore.
Probably outside New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just talked to someone who was supposed to get married like in March, and it ended up, it went from this 160 person winery thing to 6 people at a distance, but they went ahead and went through with it and got married. So
that sounds nice.
I feel like that's what a wedding should be anyway. I don't want to go to anyone's wedding. It should be 6 people at it and that's it.
I totally agree. Nobody likes a wedding, really, if you think about it, right?
Yeah, it feels like it's inconvenient. Yeah. You take away, a lot of people have to go to several, and then they're like, all their weekends are booked up with weddings. It's a very frustrating ordeal sometimes.
Scott and I are in this in-between phase that, like, the weddings we go down to now are like people getting remarried. Oh. And it's kind of weird because, like, sometimes they're just doing it right. And then sometimes, like, they're trying really hard to, like, make up for something that went wrong the first time.
Yeah. I feel like a second wedding should be a lot smaller.
Yeah. Well, I feel like too, each subsequent wedding, you should, like, the dress code should go down as well. First time you're in tux and church, second time it's a suit, third time you're just in, like, cargo pants.
Barbecue. Yeah.
And you're driving her to the attorney immediately because it's
yeah.
I feel like if 2 people were married and they're both on their second marriages at the wedding, their exes should be able to roast the whole wedding.
Yeah.
That is actually a great idea. Or write the vows at the very least.
Yeah.
That would be good. I heard somebody say that exes should be the ones to write the little description on Twitter of, like, you're like husband, father, whatever. Yeah. And if you really want to know the truth, have the ex write that. Like, just asshole, cheat.
Really likes video games.
Yeah, exactly.
Or kind of like when you buy an old car and it lets you know if it's been in a flood or it had a bug infestation or something.
Right. The Carfax.
Yeah. There should be boyfriend facts.
Would anyone ever date though?
Yeah, but then you say it. Then you give some perks to it, and then you can determine.
Yeah.
How much it's worth.
You can factor that in, kind of like with that used car. Like, I'm getting it cheap, but I know that there's going to be some repairs down the road.
It's got low mileage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been on fire before.
Yeah. I don't know. The parts for the European ones are kind of expensive. I don't know.
Yeah.
So they do go a lot of miles, European cars.
Yeah. They go a lot of miles, but I know Steve's had a bad situation with a European car.
But I had a good one with another one. Maybe this would be a good segue into the Vadge mobile.
I was going to say,
nice.
The metaphor is over now. This is no longer a metaphor. He actually had a car.
I had one that was a 2004 gold Volkswagen Jetta that I just got rid of like 10 months ago. And, my wife was like, I'm worried about you going out there and everyone, throwing themselves at you. I'm like, don't worry about it. I will resist,
First of all, it was champagne.
I'm faithful to you. It was champagne. It's not gold. It was champagne. That is a good point.
I didn't know that because I had a gold Honda Civic. I didn't know it was priced really cheap. And people said because that color is so unattractive to people. I didn't really know that.
Yeah. Well, I drove one for a very long. Yeah, I
didn't know that either.
Yeah. I didn't really care. I was like, it's gold. Fine.
I have a problem with buying cars with a color that's like contemporary for like 6 months. And like by the time like you're back at your house, it's like, oh, that's instantly dated, like a champagne station wagon, but still. Anyway, it's out there somewhere. My daughter and I watch all these like car fix up shows that like what people like will trick out a car. And I keep waiting to see the champagne wagon come through and see if they would do that one day, but I don't think.
Not yet.
I kind of like champagne colored cars.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to find in a parking lot.
That is a good point.
Well, maybe if you owned a gold Civic, it really pops for you.
It does.
So I don't know what the Vadge mobile recording studio, is that a thing?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's Adrienne's car, and it just ended up being a very convenient location for us to podcast in.
Because we were trying to podcasts in studios and stuff, and then for a while we were recording episodes, and somebody wiped the computer of them, so we lost all the stuff.
Yeah, and then like, at least with the car, we can find out where we are that night and then find a middle destination. But if you're at a studio, sometimes the studio can be inconveniently located for both parties. So we just found the car to be a lot easier. And then it just ended up being this thing like, I don't know, you park certain areas of the city and then you get certain vibrant nightlife stuff happening.
There you go.
Like
it's actually
street
pretty
fights,
good idea.
people twerking. I mean, there's just a whole
heroin
bunch of stuff.
deals. We one time saw a guy with no pants, but acting like he had pants on, walk through Washington Square Park. It was like a big T-shirt, and he had a duffel bag, like he just finished working out. But we were like, "Where is pants?"
Well, there's also a reason Scott and I are filmed from the waist up too, just to let you know. Not that's how we deal with not being too nervous in front of our guests.
I want to know. I want to drill down on this a little bit, though. How did you, when you say he was acting like he had pants, like what is that exactly? Was he like putting his hands in his pockets, or you just mean everything else was there? Shoes, socks.
Just like not bringing any awareness to it, so he wasn't like trying to cover up it. Yeah, I mean, I've had anxiety dreams with the outfit that this guy's wearing. You know, where you're not fully naked, but you're in class, but I'm wearing a shirt that's long enough to cover my private parts, but not if I raise my arm, then the shirt's going to pop up. So the whole time I'm like pushing it down. That's what he was wearing.
Maybe he was living out that dream. Maybe he was trying to get to class for that test that he's never studied for.
Yeah, maybe. He did have a duffel bag.
It was weird to just not be covering his dick and ass with whatever was in that bag. Like, what else could have been in that bag that he couldn't have worn? It just didn't make sense.
Right, like anything is better than nothing. There could have been a dirty towel or something. Yeah.
Even a boxing glove. I don't know. It just seemed like whatever was in that bag, it had to be something else he could have worn.
It's kind of like that saying, fake it till you make it. Like the way he was walking around, like he was just faking it. And it like, then you're like, I guess he does have pants on.
Yeah.
He was Jedi mind tricking you. That was what he was doing.
Or in his mind,
this is not the penis you're looking for.
Yeah.
He had an invisible boxing glove on in his mind.
Yeah.
I like that. I think I'm going to do that now because I can just walk around the house like, look, I gotta get comfortable. And
well, now I'm thinking we should do the mobile studio, but Richmond isn't quite as exciting as New York, I don't think. But
I don't know. Maybe find some area where guys cruise for each other.
Ooh.
That could be exciting.
Good idea.
Especially if I wear this, the lumber.
Yeah. You're like a bear.
Yeah, I could. Hey, and Steve, the guys love Steve too, so it's not a bad idea.
Don't make me feel sad. There's a twink bear community out there that I'm trying to start. Okay, so
can I ask you guys a question?
Please.
Would you blow a guy once a week for $2,500 cash? He doesn't have to come in your mouth, but you make $10,000 a month, and that's your job. But you're only doing like 20 minutes a month worth of work.
We get to pick the location. Like, can we stay in like a comfortable climate, or is it like we have to do this and move somewhere where it's cold all the time?
No. It's somewhere where you live. It's somewhere where you live, like within 10 minutes where you live, and you just go there once a week and blow this guy. Or you could blow him for 20 minutes straight in one shot and get it over with for the month. $10,000, 20 minutes.
I would do the 20-minute one and get it over and done with.
Do you get to pick the guy, or how does that
No,
work
you don't get to pick the guy.
That's
He just gets out of the shower. You don't get to pick the guy, but he
that
doesn't
helps.
have any STDs.
Yeah.
No diseases.
Okay, this is a key question because I take hypotheticals very, very seriously.
First of all, if you're not making more than that much money per month right now, you're fucking with your whole family's life.
Well, you're kind of fucking with your whole family's life either way. If
$10,000, are you making more than $10,000 a month?
It depends on the year.
Yeah, but both of us our jaws still shut at this point too. If we're changing our lifestyles in a certain way, it might
you're only working 20 minutes a month as opposed to the 40 plus hours you might be working.
I guess it's an easy yes, because you can always have a second job. You're not saying you can't go out and do other things, because I might just get bored. 20 minutes of
you can do something else if you want to be a real if you're eager to make more money, sure, you could
start an Etsy shop.
You could maybe even blow a second guy for another $2,500.
At this point, I'm willing to change my entire lifestyle if this is the deal. I'm not in. Yeah.
Well, Adrienne's starting a business. I didn't know if you.
I want to see who's interested.
This felt like a what is it, like not Avon, but the thing that sells soap. It's like all of a sudden we're in the middle of the conversation. It's a multi-level marketing.
Yeah. There would be an interesting pyramid schemes. Like, forget about essential oils. I got a real deal for you right here.
Here's how it works.
Guaranteed 10,000.
10 dicks. The person above you only has to suck 9 dicks. Next thing you know, by the pyramid.
That's
I'm
genius.
not gonna do a pyramid scheme. I want people to know I'm a reputable person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well.
We wouldn't want anyone to think negatively of you, especially after that wonderful entrepreneurial idea that you shared with us.
I already knocked it down from 10 minutes a week to 5. So you guys don't even.
You've made us a deal.
Like a very good deal.
It's how I ended up with that champagne station wagon. It's like, look, we've already discounted $5,000 off this. That worked out well for me. Maybe that's giving me. I'll leave a little mystery. I'll have to get back to you. I'm an analytical sort of guy. Sure. Well, since I have no way to top that, I will just go here. So, there were some emails exchanged leading up to this. I'm not going to say who started it about offering pictures of feet, but I do just want to come out and say that, we started that, and I listened to your show recently, and Sarah's already walking on avocados. I feel like that you have taken an idea that maybe we could have just shared together.
I know. I think that was Adrienne's idea.
I said I would like to walk on avocados. I like the way they feel.
Okay.
I was all about showing my feet and just putting maybe pencils in between it or something.
That's way too normal. That's been done 10 years ago.
Really? I guess I'm out of the foot game.
I'm not saying I've been, subscribing to that for years, but.
So if I showed up like that, would it be really embarrassing?
To the foot
game? No, okay.
I'm not sure, actually. I think what's weirded me out more, I don't know why that weirds me out more than other stuff that people do, but that to me is the
avocado thing?
Well, just the whole foot thing, because we've been trying to research other people to talk to, and Scott, I'll tell you later, one of our list of guests that we reached out to, I was just kind of cruising through the website, and I didn't expect to see a foot dedicated section, but apparently that's a Patreon option.
Wow. I had a guy one time, I was waiting for my friend to move. So I was sitting outside and I was wearing sandals and he asked if he could take a photo of my feet. And I said, yes.
Nice.
You made that guy's night.
Yeah, but I feel like he still
remembers it.
I mean, but what do you really have to lose? It's not right.
There was part of me that was flattered.
Yeah.
It gives him something to think about during his 10 minutes when he's got to, make his money.
Yeah.
In Adrienne's company.
I had a friend that had a foot fetish. It is weird the way people tell you about their fetishes. One time he was just like, would you ever consider doing this with your feet? And I was like, no. But then he would always try and get me to send him pictures of my feet. And I would only send him gross ones from the internet. But he liked the underneath part, which is surprising to me.
Yeah, I would think it's more of the arch and maybe the toes.
He liked the underneath.
Wow. Like the foot pads.
Yes.
First of all, I regret bringing this up. Secondly,
I wish
my theory is that I think that that's all that's left that's undiscovered is the bottom of the feet. So who knows what happens next?
Yeah.
And I don't want to know. But
I was impressed.
I'll be there with an email for you.
Yeah, I was impressed listening to the episode with Chris Allen, and I think it was Adrienne said something about the stepping on avocados. And he's like, "Oh, that's got to be out there." And I remember thinking to myself, "No, it's too specific." And within 2 minutes, it was like, "Oh yeah, there's a whole subreddit about that." I'm like, "Okay, color me wrong." Again,
yeah.
Well, I remember years ago, I went with this guy that I was dating. We went to just go look at when people would go really look at stores for porn, and there was a section where girls would just step on chop meat, and that was a thing.
Step on what?
Chop meat, ground meat.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so
I know.
Avocados has to also be one of them.
Well, for
That's
the
a vegan option. Yeah.
Diversity.
Speaking of avocado, I just have to say it's one of the funniest and most relatable things I saw, Sarah, in one of your. I was watching a YouTube clip, and you were talking about how there's like a good 10 minutes where the avocado is ripe, and I felt it is so true. I don't think I've ever had a fully ripe avocado, and it's so freaking disappointing.
Well, I'll have it on my mindset when I have them, especially if you see a good deal, and then all of a sudden somebody will be like, "Well, can you do?" Like, I'll actually be like, "I don't know if I can do stuff because I think tonight's the night that they're going to go off and I have 3 that I need to make something with."
Right.
It feels like this unnecessary pressure. You're like, this is crazy that this is dictating my life right now.
It's so true.
Do you think you could bring them with you next time?
Maybe. I mean, I've been here for them. That's another thing that's good about quarantine is that all of my avocados have made it into my mouth.
They've been nurtured and loved and not felt abandoned during this time.
Yeah.
Stepped on.
We didn't end up like my cousins in that video. And then it was a good life to be an avocado. So that's about as much filth talk as I can generate. So I would, to transition slightly, you guys were both together on the Impractical Jokers cruise.
Yeah.
Yes.
It almost seems insane that we did that now.
It does, right?
Because it was already talked about when we were getting on board. They were like, "Have you been to China in the last 30 days or something crazy like that?"
And I think somebody had been there 32 days before.
Mm.
There was a comic that had gone there about 32 days before, and everyone's like, "Ugh, stay away." And then somebody on the cruise the first night died, I think, but I don't know what they died from. I don't think it was COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was like the end of February, right? Because it's crazy. It was like one of the last cruises, I guess.
You guys might have been on one of the last cruise ships ever. Like it might be over now.
I'm okay with that. I don't think they're that great.
Aren't they reopening in August where you're just like, who's going on these?
It sounds like a horror movie or something waiting to happen. But how are those, by the way? And I'm curious because I watched that show Impractical Jokers with my kid, and we've actually seen them live. Like it's really, I guess the show's hilarious, and I guess it's the Tenderloins are really seem like good guys. But I would be curious what sort of audience and like who would be there on the cruise. Like how is that working? Are you interacting with just fans the whole time or?
They didn't give a shit about us. They were
is that right?
Those fans are so obsessed with the Tenderloins or the Jokers that they don't even know who we are or like realize some of the credits that some of the other people have on that cruise. It was really fascinating.
Yeah. Before the cruise even started, I guess people who bought tickets knew who was performing. And they sent messages to a lot of the comics and they were like, "Hey, I'm going to be in this room on the cruise. Is there any way you can get me some pictures with, one of the Jokers or something?"
Wow.
Yeah, they don't care about you at all. They are there to see the Jokers.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, because it's they're going for the Impractical Jokers tour, not the like comedians tour or whatever. But hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully the audiences were okay and
they were really nice. I mean, their fans were super nice. There was one lady, she dressed up like Randy Macho, or who's in the red and yellow all the time?
Macho Man Savage.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She was so incredibly wasted.
Well, did she get dressed up as Macho Man before or after?
But in like a string bikini, not to be body shaming, it wasn't the best body to have in the bathing suit that she had.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything was really just unflattering, but the only reason why I feel comfortable with shitting is that she ruined every show that she appeared at. She was like she came to Jim Brewer's show and she showed up so drunk and put her leg like on the stage and was just like a huge spectacle that he handled it perfectly. He was like, "Lady, where are your parents?"
Oh my god!
In like 10 minutes, there's a subreddit all about that with her walking on avocados somewhere.
Yeah, it was crazy, but like that's as insane that I got. But everybody was just like really pleasant and nice. Yeah.
So could you circulate around then, kind of as civilians, and observe the populace? But I don't know if that's any good material to get out of that.
Well, you got Macho Man Randy Savage in a.
Yeah, what am I saying? Yeah, I mean that's enough right there. That pays for the whole.
What's also really fun, it was funny to see how everybody was dressed on a cruise. They dressed like they just got everything out of a Lost and Found.
That's true.
Or they had to like put on stuff before their house caught on fire.
Yeah, it's a lot of not matching.
And just bad, and like you're like, oh, is that your best? Like that's crazy.
They're going to be the fashion leaders, though, when this whole thing's done, because I've started keeping track of the clothes I wear, and they make I look like I've done the same thing, like I raided a Goodwill and like had to get out of there quickly.
Yeah.
So maybe they're just prepared more than we are.
Oh yeah.
The cruise was fun though, but the last day you're like ready to get off of it. You kind of, you know what I mean? You kind of see everything, and you've kind of, and also. You couldn't really go in the pool and stuff because they were constantly crowded with a lot of people, and people were like drinking in the pool, and it's a lot of it's like a lot
recycling.
Of
yeah. And then every room you go into, there's a lady that squirts your hand with sanitizer and goes washy washy.
Ew,
weird. Well, they've always been dealing with like at least diarrhea outbreaks.
I
was about to say, it's like. You always read these. It's like, 25% of the thing has diarrhea, and you're like, okay. So the pros are you get to eat a lot and get drunk, but it's a pretty good chance you're going to have diarrhea.
You might blow it all out before you leave. You might look better when you get off.
Yeah, it's a cleanse.
Yeah. Maybe that's intended.
I was surprised that they had really good water pressure in the shower, though. I thought it was going to be like dripping, but I daydream about that shower still.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
My shower sucks, but that shower is great.
You'll probably get a good deal once they start opening the ships back up. You can, if you need a cheap ticket, I'm sure this is the time to buy. If you just want to go for a good shower, you can get 4 days of that for.
I'm gonna see if I could just live on it.
I know. Well, plane tickets are really cheap right now, right?
I think they're pretty cheap.
Yeah,
it's gonna be weird.
You can take advantage.
It's going to be a weird economy. I also saw today, and this may have just been a meme, but I hope it's true, that when TJ Maxx and Marshalls opens back up, everything's going to be super cheap, like because they have all this stock. I don't know. Do you guys have those Marshalls? And TJ?
I love them.
It's like the greatest, right? So instead of paying, $12.99 for a polo from 2 years ago, it'll be like $4.99. So I can't wait for that. That's the silver lining we deserve.
I know. I miss shopping.
Me too. Sometimes I just visit stuff. I go online just to visit shoes and stuff.
To just look at them.
Say Mama's gonna come back soon.
And Sarah's gonna have a new business plan for you when we get back.
Yeah.
So Adrienne, a question that I've wanted to ask you is about the Tinder tap outs, which I know you did also. I think you performed some when you were on the cruise. How did that start?
I was in Vegas, and I think I just bombed on a show, and I guess I was talking to guys just regularly on there, and then I just started trolling them because it seemed like so much more fun, and it was. And that's kind of how it started, me just bombing a show in Vegas and going back to the hotel room being like, ugh. And that like just made me so happy doing it.
Take out your anger on a desperate single man. Not single man. I've read a lot of yours that single man seems to be not the highest percentage of people you come across.
Well,
they're not always single, right? Some of them are married.
Yeah.
It's better than what did you do this weekend? How was your weekend? What are you going to do next weekend? That's every conversation. I had a recent one where a guy wrote to me and I didn't get back to him right away. And then he got nasty and flipped on me and was like, why would you match with somebody if you're not going to talk to them? And I was like, my brother just died from Corona. And I was like, I hope you feel like a real big piece of shit. And then he was like, oh my God. And then he started telling me his whole life. I also know somebody that died. I'm sorry. I'm taking out my feelings out on strangers on Tinder. So like,
hey man, whatever makes you feel better during these times.
During these times.
So funny to freak out on someone you don't know.
Right.
Exactly.
That needs to be the Tinder commercial, like with the piano music showing the heartland of America that every company has out right now.
And these are uncertain times.
Yeah.
More than ever. It's important
well,
too.
Now I'm gonna go back because I haven't responded to him and say somebody else died from corona, and see what he does.
Like, can I see your feet?
Only if you have avocados I can walk on.
You should ask to see guys' feet. Like,
yes.
That's your thing.
Oh, guys, we'll do that shit in a heartbeat because it'll, again, there's no downside to it. I think that's probably why guys send pics, all the time. Is like, who cares? What's the downside? Maybe I get something back. Maybe I don't.
Yeah, I just can't picture. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No. You go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying I can't picture women being into guys' feet like the other way around.
Who knows? You're probably right. I've never heard that either.
Yeah, we're pretty mystified what you guys like us at all, frankly. So the other parts that you get to see, feet really, are they that much worse than other stuff you get sent? But
that's true.
The male body is disgusting, in case you weren't sure. So, trying to segue. Adrienne, I know you are a big fan of dogs. You have Zuzu.
Yes.
I have Mindy the dog.
Ooh, what kind of dog is
she? She's mostly Beagle.
Okay.
She was rescued from a prison. She was that's true. She was in some sort of shelter, kept sending dogs back and forth to prison. They were supposed to send them one time, and they sent her back and forth because they got like a kickback. So
I don't know why that's so funny to me.
She's seen some stuff. She would be a good match for you. She could hang in the Bronx. In your next fist fight, she would be there for you.
Would they send her back with a different name every time, like she was a different dog?
Well, she kept. We fostered her. They told us she was 4 to 6 years old, so they're not sure because they kept scrambling the name. But we finally adopted her, and we got like all her papers back, and like they made up a birthday. And we did find out she converted to Islam in prison, so that was good to know. That helped us kind of understand. We know her Muslim name now too. So if she won't listen to us,
does she pray 4 times a day?
No, but she really doesn't like our neighbor, Mr. Goldfarb, and we kind of understand now. We're starting
If I went to prison, I would align myself with the Islamics. I think that would give me the best protection.
You know what? You've helped us think about things we really haven't thought about before. I've never really thought about that. My goal would be not to become someone's bitch the first day. I would give myself the dignity of 2 or 3 days before I was.
I think if you become Muslim though in prison, I don't think anyone fucks you. I mean, at least that's their opening line. They're like, "Hey, join us. No one will fuck you."
And to their credit, that's a pretty solid opening line. I would say, especially that first day of prison.
Ask Mindy if she knows anything about that.
We will.
Now that I think of it, I did watch Oz, and I do not remember any of the Islam.
That's where I got it from. No one fucked with the Muslims.
Nope, that's a good point. Yep, the Aryan Nation, man, there's fucking everybody and getting fucked.
Oh my God, terrible people.
All right, so.
Well, I know now something. Next time we have to leave the house, we can put on for Mindy. See how maybe that might trigger her. We have to be careful with that.
Yeah,
but I'll
ease her
ask
into it.
I check her cage for her little place she sleeps for shivs every couple days. So maybe that'll be something just to kind of chat as I go through her stuff to make sure she's not doing that.
That is nice that you adopted her, though.
That was nice of me because sometimes people don't think I like animals, and I don't like to rub it in people's faces, but. Yeah, it was pretty magnanimous of me to do that. Yeah, I mean, you have a pug.
Yeah, she's a Boston pug. Yeah, I like to buy my dogs because I want them to be cute. I feel like if I'm up for an ugly dog, I'll take a stroll to the shelter.
Yeah. Well, Mindy knows people. She knows people who've been on the inside. Just want some attention.
No, that's not true. I would definitely get a dog from a shelter if they have any cute ones, you know.
So, Sarah, speaking of dogs, you've had a long quest.
What the hell?
To bring a dog into your house.
Was that a question, Steve?
No, I was trying to do a setup for one of Sarah's jokes.
Yeah, I still like, even today I saw this cute little, what are those like long-haired wiener dogs that people are getting now? They're really popular. Yeah. But they're so tiny. They're like toy wieners or something. I saw one of those and it really made my heart sing.
Go to the shelter. This is the best time to get a dog.
I just don't know how to do it without Joe not noticing. I feel like I'm going to have to hide the dog for a little while.
Hide in that basement apartment.
That's what I was thinking. I could just hide it maybe somewhere. I don't know. I could figure it out.
And then
I
one
do
day
want to
just
talk.
let it in the house. And hide it under
Oh
like
my
clothes.
God. Look what happened. This dog just came in. He likes it here. I did that when I was younger. My parents were like, no more pets. And then my coach said he had kittens, and I just went ahead and went to look, and then I got the cat and I hid it in my room for a week. And then when my dad found out, he made me, he was like, where'd you get this? And I didn't want to tell him that I went ahead and disregarded anything that he had told me. And so I said, there were a bunch of kittens down by the lake and they were abandoned, and I had to save this one. So we went down to the lake or the neighborhood, and there was a house by there, and my parents knew the guy, and my dad went to ask the guy. He's like, hey, have you seen any more cats? Like, we got to go get those kittens if they're hanging out around here. And then the guy, I don't know how this happened, but he was like, oh yeah, I saw a lot. There's been a lot of kittens around here. And I was lying.
Wow.
I don't know how. It's so crazy.
Kittens.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's kittens everywhere.
Yeah, it's true. But as a kid, you must have been like mind blown, like lying pays off.
I was like, I cannot believe that fucking worked.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It's nice that your dad wants to get the rest of them, though. He wasn't even upset.
No, he was generally concerned. My dad did like animals. He did. He was cute about it.
Did you keep the cat?
I did. It was our family treasured pet for about 20 years.
Awesome.
Wow. That's like a tremendous lesson on the benefits of lying.
Yeah.
I know.
That should be like some sort of, yeah. It's like lying's wrong, but let me just tell you, just in case, so we're giving you both sides of the story here.
There are benefits to it.
Let's talk to Sarah.
We can't all have prison dogs. Some of us have to.
Hey, listen, I got protected. Actually, you know what stinks is she is like if anyone broke in the house, like as I'm being like murdered, she would be on her back waiting for somebody to like rub her belly. She is the most needy dog I've ever seen. She's needier than me, which is pretty much an issue. Well, that's my big thing with Mindy.
Well, it's nice to know that if you did go to prison, Mindy could like give you some tips.
She could.
And maybe she could come back and you can have her for a fourth or fifth time in there.
Everybody's giving her a high paw.
Yeah.
I wonder what she thought when she came back to prison. That must have been kind of confused. She's like, wait, I thought I was out of here.
Beagles are really cute, though. Does she howl in the morning and stuff?
No, she's super quiet. She's actually the sweetest dog. And I've gone from somebody that like I preferred cats because they hate you, and I respect that about them. And like this dog is like desperate and needy, but she's actually kind of won me over after a little bit. And it also helps too that she's in better shape. She was pretty tubby like when we got her, and like my wife like did a good job of like she was like a middle-aged lady that like kind of given up, and then my wife like built. It was like a rom-com. She just needs to find somebody now because she's done the part where she's gone from like the wallflower to now she has it going on. But maybe she'll see somebody from prison and it'll put her back on a bad path again.
I hope not. She's been through a lot.
It is.
God, Mindy's got a really they should make a film about her life.
It's not a bad idea.
There we go.
The good thing about a dog is I was walking Zuzu today and this guy came over with his kid to pet her and I just said she's a biter. And he went, oh, thanks for telling me. And he walked away. And she doesn't bite. She's like a little pug. But it was such a great thing to just tell people your dog attacks. And I'll stay away from you.
It's a good idea.
I think I'm going to tell that to my daughter. So you can say that to me, like when her friends come over. Like, he's a biter. Get away.
Yeah.
He's also been emailing people he doesn't know about feet. So just stay away from this guy. Leave us alone.
Now, you guys, do you both have kids?
We do. I have a daughter who's 11 and is awesome.
Yeah, no, I have a 9-year-old daughter and a 12-year-old son. Yes.
So are they like hanging out with friends during this? Where do you guys live? You live in Virginia, right? Both of you?
We're both in Richmond, and no, it's so I'm divorced. I have my kids half the time, and I mean we just go outside, play basketball in the front. We can go to the parks around here with our masks on and social distance and walk around and stuff. Other than that, it's video games and just doing whatever you can. In school, I mean we're still pretty much homeschooling and all that fun stuff. So
most of the day I wear the shirt that Scott has, and that's kind of like my homeschool outfit I put on for the kid.
That's your blazer,
giant black hat, and
this is the nicest I've dressed in a while, to be honest with you, because I'm on the sweatpants train. I was already on the sweatpants train.
I think we're all on the sweatpants train.
Yeah.
I'm not even going back to jeans. I'm just gonna have a goodbye party for them.
I think this is the first week I've started wearing jeans, but they're very loose fit, relaxed.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that. That that feeling of when you haven't worn your jeans for like 8 months, and you're like, what, I've done a good job since I put these on last time, and then you instantly find out,
they're tight.
No.
Yeah.
All those carbs are doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, and I've been eating a lot of I don't know if you guys have this, but with the quarantine, there's like certain things that I've just been eating more than. I mean, I'm eating everything more than normal, but cheese. I just want to eat cheese all the time. I don't know what's up with that. And
cheese is so good.
So like I go whenever I do the grocery stock up. I'm like, I need to get a lot of cheese, and then because I have a lot of cheese, I eat it because I love cheese, and then I'm out of cheese, and I got to get more. It's a problem, but.
Vicious.
If you want to stop eating it, just pour Clorox on it.
Oh, is that right? Okay. I could just not buy it, but then
I like that. Then you can make hand sanitizer out of it. At least it'll be productive.
Eat some of it and then pour Clorox on the rest.
Okay, that's a good idea.
That's good.
And then just maybe I can cure my COVID or something by eating it.
No.
No, you're not.
We stayed away so far from that. No, let's not get into that. We got to end positive. So thank you guys for hanging out with us too. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, this has been fun.
I know you have to say that, but thank you for.
I feel like
I've been having fun.
I feel like you're upset that I said your dog was a shelter dog.
Oh no! I was looking at my list. I unfortunately had this I'm a project manager in real life, so I have a checklist of stuff I have to do. Yeah, I know it's pretty impressive. I know you're really glad that you did this call now, but I had this unfortunate thing. Like I try to be friendly. But there's a list that I'm looking at. I'm like, the checklist isn't moving. We're not going through the ticks. I'm not offended.
Sarah gets derailed a lot.
No, well, that's one of the reasons why we like you guys. I've been doing a lot of. I always try if we interview someone to research them. So I've been going through hours of Vadge, which is just fun to say out loud and have recorded. And I had to stop because I fell asleep and I heard the term blue waffle and I woke up. All right, well, I guess we're gonna have to cut back. We'll have to cut back on listening. So. Don't want to talk about that, but I do want to ask two last questions. Sarah, I know that you worked for Arista Records many years ago.
Oh my
God!
God!
The home of I do my research. I mean, I'm not outside right now.
Was that on MySpace?
You did an interview with Todd Perry.
Oh, okay.
I'm more impressed that you put something on MySpace and thought that I could find that. I think that would have been an accomplishment other than listening just to a podcast you did. So do you have any Whitney Houston memories or experiences or nights out?
Well, I remember when I was interning there, I was in a truck that honked involuntarily, which was so embarrassing. So every time I pulled into the parking lot, I would just honk. Where it made it sound like I was super excited to be there.
You were an enthusiastic.
It was the worst thing ever. Yeah.
So
honk. It was so awful.
That's killing me.
There was a short in the honk thing. I just remember that being like, God, I'm at a record label. I've always wanted to work at a record label, and then my truck is just honking uncontrollably when I get to the work.
So funny. Oh my gosh.
But I did work there, and they were like, the only gossip that I got is that she was annoying, but we put up with her because pretty much all the money that record company made was basically off of Whitney Houston albums. Their roster wasn't that, or what I would consider that great, or it was just it had people on there that I guess I was like, oh, I didn't realize they pulled in that much money, but I think Luther Vandross was on there, or maybe who was the guy that was married to Amy Grant that was a big country singer?
Oh, Vince Gill.
Yeah, he was on there, I think. It was stuff like that, or Martina McBride.
I just love the visual of you just driving up and every day she loves this job, just honking.
Your enthusiasm paid off.
There's no way you could sneak out of that job.
Right.
No, I didn't get paid for it. I worked in soundtracks and licensing. So the only cool thing I got to do was I got to see that movie Cruel Intentions before they put the soundtrack in, and I got to watch it and see where they were gonna put in music. But that job was boring. I thought it was gonna be cool, like we're all in bell bottoms doing blow, and like how it was on the 70s or in the 60s when it just seemed like the music era was just cool. Like it's just boring. I just looked at emails all day long.
That's why your horn was beeping, man. It's like, let's do this.
Want me to get out.
Shit.
We'll get the blow ready.
Yeah.
Blow is here.
That'd been so fun if you got to do blow at work.
Well, as an intern, I mean, you're not even like earning a paycheck. You're doing free work, and they're giving you that. Now that would be that.
I get paid. Yeah, I would. That sounds like an awesome job.
No paycheck. However, here's some of our perks that we'll offer you this summer. Yeah,
I'm sure that.
No, sorry.
I was just saying that I'm sure that was a perk during like the 70s.
I'll ask Mindy if she knows anybody from prison.
Get Mindy.
All right. One last thing I wanted to ask you guys is something that as comedians, and again, thank you for spending time with us. What is a misconception people have about you that you would like to, for our dozens of listeners, that you would like to just smash right now?
I guess like we're just not partying all the time, which I think a lot of people assume.
Or that maybe that it's what we do is like, or like, I don't want to say lazy, but it feels like everyone that I know is always working all the time for no money. It's like a lot. You're just doing a lot nonstop. The other one I think is that we all suffer from some kind of mental disorder. And I think there's a lot of pretty normal, straight-laced people that are doing this.
I've heard people say like something about like all comedians have some deep source of pain or something like that. Like, is that something people just say? Have you heard that? Or is that, do you think, a real, I don't know, dynamic?
I think most people in general just have some deep source of pain. And I think maybe a lot of comics are a little more open about it, but I think most people are pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
Like most people have some kind of addiction. It's just the way.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, like there's usually some type of anxiety or depression or something happened in your childhood. You know what I mean? Like divorce or when your parents fucked you. Like there's just something going on usually as a child.
I was going to say you were putting Reader's Digest, but I guess having, what you said, maybe it would be.
I think that was actually, they asked me about that specifically. And that's why I wanted to bring it back up.
Full circle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, like Adrienne and I always talk about like when you work in an office, those people are just as disturbing or even more fucked up than some comics that I know.
Right. Just not funny. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You get all the baggage, but no benefit.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Or they're just trying to hide it.
Yeah.
I think I have my checklist done. Is there?
Yeah.
So you guys are doing Skankfest in Houston. Is that something that's been moved?
I feel like most comics do not know what's happening with schedules, and some things were pushed to September, but it doesn't even look like that's going to happen.
Okay.
But more people are doing Zoom shows, I think.
Yeah. I think Moon Tower and Skankfest are both moved to September, but I guess everything's going to probably see what like everything looks like then. I think it's kind of too early to tell. Hopefully we do, because I was looking forward to both of them this year.
Yeah.
And you guys are both playing that together. Both of those together, correct? Okay. You'll both be there. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking the time. We really appreciate it.
No, that's been fun.
Thanks.
Stay safe.
Fun. Thank you for having me.
Sure.
Yeah.
And once you start doing the avocado stuff, we just want a little bit of a kickback, not too much.
I mean, it was initially my idea, but I will give you guys a little bit of money.
Yeah.
And you let me know if you're into the $10,000 a month to blow a dude. I haven't not forgotten about that.
So we won't forget either.
No, but he told me his answer.
We'll wait. I got to put thought into it. I just want to say something off the cuff about a big decision like that, especially with the money apparently you're going to be able to set me up with.
Well, If you're rushed in any business deal, you know that it's not good.
No,
That's
that's
right.
how it's great.
And Arista's best intern ever. That's who I believe her when she says that.
Honk, honk. All right.
All right. Well, thank you guys so
bye,
much.
guys.
We
Thank
really
you very
appreciate
much.
it. We'll talk to you
Thanks for
soon.
having
We
me.
won't.
See you
Okay.
later.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode of Origin of Speaksies. To hear more from our guests, you can find them both every week on their own podcast, Vadge, which is available on all major podcast providers. To keep up with the ladies of Vadge, you can find Sarah Tollemache at Tollemache on both Instagram and Twitter, and her website, sarahTcomedy.com, and Adrienne Iapalucci at Adrienne Iapalucci on Instagram, and also Iapalucci on Twitter, and her website, you guessed it, AdrienneIapalucci.com. Most importantly, you can find Adrienne on Season 2 of The Degenerates on Netflix, where she is certainly the highlight of the season. Thank you again to our guests Sarah and Adrienne, and thank you very much for listening to Origin of Speaksies. So I've been going through hours of Vadge.